So hello team. In this module, we're gonna talk about Java streams. This is one of the most important lecture as it is very widely used. Whether you're working on Selenium, you're working on APM or any other Java API, and you actually got a task to read and write the data from a Notepad file, CSV files, create HTML files, or even store your test data in a Excel X file and read it from there, right? So streams are basically a process sequence through which you can either write or read a data from any sort of file, right? So stream can be imagined as a channel, right? It's a channel which actually flows the data from the source file to a destination file, or basically it's a sort of data type which are actually channeled to flow the program to a destination file, right? So streams are basically of like the two most important types are like output stream and the input stream, right? So output stream is where you need to write some data, some characters to a particular file, and you'll be using input stream whenever you need to read a data from a file. So with the help of this channel only, the data flow will gonna take place using these output or input streams. So the very first thing that we need to do is to create this channel. Now there are inbuilt classes available inside Java itself to do all these operation, right? You need not to create any class of your own, right? These are all predefined classes that we will be using in order to implement reading and writing. So let's start with it. The very first thing we're going to see how to write in a text file, right? Now, text file could be anything. It could be a plain .txt file, a notepad file, right? It could be a HTML file, right, with .html extension. It could be a CSV file, right? Now, there are some predefined steps in order to write inside a file. As in, let's say if I talk manually about creating a file, how will you create it? The very first thing you're gonna do, you'll go to some location, you're gonna create a file manually, then you're gonna add some text inside that file, and then you're gonna save that file, right? For all these operations, there are different classes available in Java, right? So the very first thing we need to do, we need to take an output stream, right, which will select the directory in which our text file will be saved, right? Then we're gonna use the same output stream to create a file and chain it to the first step that we have like that we're gonna write, right? So all these things, to perform all these actions, there are classes available in Java. And then we will be using the buffer writer. This is again an internal class which will actually gonna write some characters inside that particular file, and again this buffer writer needs to be chained to the previous step, right? And at last we're gonna close that stream, right? So for all these operations, there are different classes which are multi-level classes available in Java. These are Java internal classes, and that is what we will be using them when we are creating a text file and writing inside it. So this closing the stream is, again, it's very important, because whatever resources that are actually allocated while creating files, while entering text, while writing text into those files, so we actually need to release all those resources at the end of our program, right? So when we close the stream, it will actually going to close the entire stream classes that we are actually using. Now I'm going to show you a sample code, whatever that we have discussed so far, and how all things will gonna work. This is very simple, right? There's an internal class that is a file class, right? This output stream will actually gonna select the directory, right? Then again, output stream for writing the files. So this is the file writer, right? And it will be chained again to this particular reference of the file object, right? Then again, we'll be chaining the buffer writer, in which we will be writing the file inside this like file writer reference, right? So we're going to talk about this in detail, right? The very first thing we need to look at the file class, and in order to do that, we will be navigating to the file class. So file class, we're gonna get it. I'll go to Google and I'll search for file class Java doc, right? So this is one of the important document. Anything that you need to do, read and write inside a file, any action that you need to perform. This is a Java inbuilt class, like inside a package, Java IO file, right? And if you see, this is basically the method summary. Let me increase the font size. Just 1 second. All right. So if I go downward, so anything that you need to check whether this file can read, can write, right? Whether the file exists on on that particular directory or not. Get the free space from the file. Get the length. Return the length of the file, and there are n number of methods available that you can create. So we will be using a lot of methods from here itself in order to read, in order to perform read and write operation inside a file, right? So anything that you need to know related to file, you'll find it inside the file class. Example, let's say if you want to get the absolute path, the path where the file exists, you can get the path from this particular method, get absolute path, right? If you want to find the parent directory of that file, you can say get parent file, right? So a lot of methods are there. You can even compare the files, right? Compare to a file with that file name, you can even compare that file, right? So this is one of the super class that we will be using, right? So we'll go to some folder like C drive, and I'm gonna create a new folder, let's say file writing, right? And just gonna copy this path and go back to our Eclipse, and here I'm gonna create a new class and give it a name as writing files, right? Any name you can give to this class. And inside this, the very first thing that we need to create is an object of the file class. So as a file f equal to new file. So as soon as I import it, see it's from java.io, right? And here is a constructor that actually asks for the path of the file, right? So path of the file we will be giving as this, and then we need to give the file name. So the file name we have, okay, what file we gonna write over here, so we need to give that file name. So I can say let's say my text file dot txt, right? And in Java, whenever we are giving backslashes, we need to give it in double backslash, because single slash denotes the escape sequence in Java. So we need to give it like this, double backslash. All right. Now the next thing we will be calling is the file writer class, right? So I'm going to create an object of this class as well, file writer, and again I'll be importing it through Java IO. And this time the constructor accepts the argument as your file, the object reference of your file, right? So that it can chain it from the previous step that we just discussed, and we need to add this exception over here. Same thing, another class we need to call is buffered writer, right? This is again an internal class. We'll say writer equal to new buffered writer, and then we need to chain it with the previous step. So that is the writer. right? Writer is FW. All right. So we have actually performed the stream connectivity over here. So up till like these three steps are actually responsible for performing the stream connectivity. Now the next thing that we need to do is to write something inside this file. So I'll write over here. I'll say writing inside the file. So I'll be using this writer reference. I'll say writer dot, and now I'll be able to access the method from this writer. That is one of the write method, and see there are a lot of overloaded methods available, but I'll be using the string one. So I can write first line, right? After this, if I again write writer dot write, it will gonna write in within the same line, right? It will not gonna create a new line. So again, I'll say writer dot new line, and again I'll say writer dot write, right, and I'll say India. Then again writer dot new line, then again writer dot write. I can give anything over here. Let's say way to automation, something like this, right? Now we've written three lines like this, and after every line we are actually creating new lines like this, right? So maybe if I need to add some more lines, I can again write writer dot write, and then give a name. I should actually be doing all these things inside a loop, right? Inside a loop, we're gonna have one new line statement. So every time a loop runs and enters the values, and at the end it should actually gonna add a new line after each statement, right? So once we are done with the writing, the next step is to close the stream, right? So we'll write the step for closing stream. So if I close the very last stream, it will actually gonna close all the connected streams. So I can simply write write dot writer dot close, right? And after this, let's say if I gonna print file created. So if everything runs successfully, at the end it should actually gonna print in the console that the file is created. Now let's execute this much, and let's see if a file is created and with the name my text file, and all these things gets added to the file or not. So let us run this and let us see. Yes, it printed file created, but let's see if the file has been created or not. Yes, the file is successfully created. Let us open this file and see if the values are being added to the file or not. Yes, whatever that we have mentioned inside the file writer, all things are printed as it is over here, right? Now the next thing that we need to see, let's say if I add some more values over here, right? If I again re-execute this code, let's say I write over here second line, right? I change from India to let's say USA, right? And way to automation technologies, right? And let remain the last thing as it is. Now what happens if I run this thing again, and again a file is created, and let's see if the file has been overwritten or not. So yes, it has actually overwritten that file. So if you're actually doing the same stuff on the same location, it will actually gonna overwrite that file. It will not gonna append it inside the same file. So this is what we don't want. We want that these things should be appended. These should not be overwritten. So what we're gonna do in this case. So now what else can be done? If we talk about this file writer, if we take a look at the Java document of this file writer, if I go to Google and type file writer, right, this is the Java document of file writer, and if you go downwards, you'll find a constructor summary over here. There is a constructor. We have used by default this constructor, which accepts the file, right? Now there is one that accepts an argument that is append, and this accepts a boolean value. So if I just write f comma true, right, so that it means that the append is equal to true. What it will actually gonna do next time, if I again write first line and again change it to India, again change it to video automation and run this again, this time you're gonna see it will actually gonna append this thing inside a new line, right? Okay, this actually has done it over here because we actually need to give a write dot new line before this thing as well, right? Because every time it will gonna first write a new line like this, and see over here first line and then this, right? So this is how each time you're gonna write, it will gonna append it in the same file. If you don't give this as true, then it will gonna overwrite that particular file. Now the next thing we can see, instead of writing it like this, we can use some looping over here, because ultimately we'll be writing inside the files using some loop, right? So I can write a sample program which can add some random values inside file. I can create some loops over here, like which will start from 0 and goes less than 4, and then I'll say I plus plus, right? So I can create a loop something like rows and columns. So this will actually gonna add 4 rows, and then I'm gonna say for the columns also start from this and run up till 3, right? And then j plus plus, right? And here I can write writer dot write, and I can say j, right? And I'm gonna give some space over here, or maybe I can say backslash t for a tab, right? And maybe I can add some random numbers over here. I can say int num equal to math dot random, right? Again, an internal class which will generate numbers between 1 to 100, right? It will generate some random numbers between 100, right? And in order to use it, I actually need to typecast it with int. So I'll say int and like this, right? Now let's save this. At the end, I'm gonna say like once this loop is executed, I'll say writer dot new line, right? And I'm gonna say append equal to false, or I can make it just the f reference, right, the file reference, or either I can change it to false, right? So if I run this again, you're gonna see again a file is created. This time it will be overwritten, and you can see the numbers. It has actually printed it like this, right? Again, if I go back over here, just give me a moment and let me run this thing again. And it will overwrite this file. Okay, what wrong is there is that we are actually printing this j. We should actually print the number, right? Because the numbers are not getting over here. It's actually printing j. So if I run this thing again, and this time the random numbers will be generated, right? Now same thing, same logic I can use to create CSV files. In CSV files, CSVs are basically comma separated file. So if you don't have any plan to read and write through POI APIs using XLSX files, you can achieve the same thing using the CSV files as well, using the same file like all these streams that we have seen right now. So just you need to change this to CSV, only the extension, and instead of tab, I'm gonna give a comma over here. That's it. That's all you need to do. So if I run this thing now, you're gonna see a CSV file got created. If I open this CSV file, you're gonna see all the data will be added inside the rows and columns randomly, right? So this is how you can do writing inside CSV files and the text files. Now, in the next example, we're going to see how we can write a HTML file, right, using the file streams itself, and then we're going to see how we can read from these files, right?